Jack had been working alone on the outer edge of human space for almost 6 months. The colony on Valora 7 was small, built into the jagged cliffs of a rocky canyon, with only a handful of engineers and scientists managing the systems that kept life flowing. From the outside, it looked quiet, almost peaceful. But Jack knew that peace was fragile. The planet was harsh, and its weather changed in an instant. Storms could tear through the canyon walls, and the sensors rarely gave enough warning. Jack had grown accustomed to the isolation, the long hours repairing energy grids, and the constant hum of machines. He leaned back in his chair, rubbing his eyes. The last panel of the grid had been fixed, and the room glowed with soft lights as the system hummed steadily. Finally, he thought, a moment of rest. He set down his tools, stretched, and glanced at the small viewport. Beyond the glass, the alien sky shimmered in shades of violet and deep blue, speckled with distant stars. Jack was just about to lie down when he heard it. A soft, almost inaudible sound. At first, he thought it was the wind outside. Then he noticed it again, a gentle step on the smooth metal floor of his room. He froze, eyes scanning the room. Nothing. Then she appeared. It was impossible not to notice her. She moved silently, gliding rather than walking. Her skin shimmered faintly under the room lights, patterned with markings that glowed a soft blue. Her eyes reflected the stars outside, large and full of something Jack could not name. She looked fragile, yet there was strength in her posture, a quiet confidence. She did not speak. She didn't even look around, as if she already knew this space belonged to him. Jack's heart pounded in his chest. Who are you?" he asked, voice barely above a whisper. She didn't answer with words. Instead, she moved closer, and Jack felt something strange, a subtle pull, like a signal meant only for him. She slowly lowered herself, and then, in a motion that seemed natural to her, she dropped the light, protective clothing she had been wearing. It wasn't threatening, and Jack felt no alarm, only astonishment. She laid herself gently against his chest as if seeking comfort. Jack's mind raced. What was she? Why had she come here? And why now? He wanted to react, to pull away or shout, but something in her gaze held him still. She was not dangerous. She was afraid. He swallowed hard, steadying himself. "It's okay. I won't hurt you," he said softly. She tilted her head slightly, almost as if understanding him. Her hand brushed against his shoulder, light and cautious, and he felt a strange warmth spread through him, not just from her touch, but from the trust she was placing in him. Minutes passed in silence. The colony's hum filled the air, and Jack felt the weight of responsibility settle on him. He needed to know who she was and why she had come. "Talk to me," he said, placing a hand carefully on her back. "I can help you, I think." This time she did not speak, not with words. Instead, images and feelings flooded Jack's mind. At first, it was confusing, flashes of another world, towering crystalline structures, alien forests bathed in soft green light. Then came fear, sharp and immediate, of something hunting her across the stars. Finally, he understood. She was running from her own people, a faction that wanted to capture her for something she could do, something rare and valuable. Jack's brow furrowed. "You're telling me all this telepathically?" he asked. She gave the smallest nod, a flicker of relief passing over her face as he acknowledged her. Why me?" he asked. "Why a human?" Her eyes met his. Then came the answer. Not a word, but a feeling. Humans were brave. Humans could think fast. Humans could survive when everything else failed. That was why she had come to him. Jack exhaled slowly. This was no ordinary situation. He had dealt with mechanical failures, hostile storms, and even minor equipment malfunctions. But this was something else. And yet, deep down, a part of him felt alive in a way he hadn't in months. He had always known humans could be extraordinary, but now he saw it reflected in the trust of an alien being. He helped her sit up slowly. "You need a safe place," he said. "We can hide you here until we figure out the rest." She nodded again, trusting him completely. Jack felt a surge of determination. He would protect her. Over the next few hours, Jack worked to secure his room. He set up sensors and alarms, hid critical systems behind layers of protection, and moved portable equipment to create barriers. Meanwhile, the girl, who introduced herself silently as Lyra, explored the room cautiously. She was fascinated by the machines, touching them lightly and sending images of them into Jack's mind. He smiled despite the tension. Even in danger, her curiosity reminded him of why humans and aliens alike were explorers by nature. As the night deepened, they shared more than just space. Through their connection, Jack learned about her home planet, a lush world full of floating gardens and forests that glowed under twin suns. Lyra's species had a unique bond with touch. Physical closeness was not just comfort. It was communication, a way to convey feelings words could not capture. This was why she had laid against him, seeking not fear, but warmth, safety, and trust. Suddenly, the sensors he had just set up beeped frantically. Jack's heart sank. He rushed to the console, scanning the signals, alien ships. Several small craft were approaching the colony, moving fast, scanning for life signs. Jack cursed under his breath. He had suspected trouble in the sector, but he hadn't expected it to find him tonight. Lyra stiffened beside him, sensing the same threat. She placed her hand on his arm, sending a steadying signal that calmed his nerves. "We can do this," she seemed to say, not in words, but in confidence and trust. Jack grabbed his tools and began planning. The colony had basic defenses, but they were not designed for a fast, targeted assault. He needed to act, and quickly. He and Lyra worked together, blending human engineering and alien perception. She guided him through the sensors and circuits, showing him where the invaders might try to breach the walls. Jack rigged temporary shields and warning traps, his hands moving with speed and precision. The hours passed in a tense blur. Outside, the alien scouts moved closer. Jack and Lyra watched from the viewport, their minds connected enough to communicate without speaking. Every movement of the enemy ships, every sound they made, was shared in their silent conversation. At one point, a scout dropped near the colony's edge. Jack tensed, ready to act. Lyra's eyes glowed softly as she extended her awareness outward, sensing the scout's path and intentions. Jack placed a small magnetic pulse device near the landing site. When the scout moved too close, the device triggered, sending a strong electromagnetic pulse that disabled its systems temporarily. It toppled onto the ground, motionless. "Good," Jack whispered, heart racing. Lyra's hand brushed his shoulder in silent approval. It was a small victory, but it gave them hope. Then came the real challenge. Multiple scouts were approaching, more than they could handle with traps alone. Jack realized they needed to lure the ships away from the colony. He quickly devised a plan, using a combination of the colony's energy grid and some portable transmitters. Lyra guided him through the alien technology, showing him how the ships responded to different signals. Together, they created a false signature, a fake target that would draw the scouts into a canyon far from the living areas. As the alien ships moved toward the decoy, Jack and Lyra held their breath. Time seemed to stretch. The colony's sensors showed the ships following the signal. Then, one by one, they disappeared into the canyon, trapped by the narrow passages Jack had carefully mapped. Jack slumped against the console, exhausted. Lyra moved closer, resting her head lightly against his chest again. He placed his arm around her, feeling the steady rhythm of trust and relief. They had survived the first wave. The immediate danger was gone. But Jack knew this was only the beginning. The faction hunting her would not give up easily. As dawn broke over Valora 7, painting the canyon walls in soft orange and violet, Jack looked at Lyra and thought about the days ahead. They would face danger, yes, but they would face it together. Humanity's strength was not in technology alone, but in courage, compassion, and connection. And in that moment, Jack felt the weight of responsibility and the spark of possibility all at once. The colony was quiet again, for now. Jack and Lyra would rest, but both knew that the universe was vast, full of threats and wonders alike. Together, they would prepare for what was coming, a human and an alien bound not by blood but by trust, courage, and the unspoken understanding that even in the farthest reaches of space, humanity's heart could shine brightly. And as the stars flickered beyond the viewport, Jack felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. The first rays of light spilled over the cliffs of Valora 7, casting long shadows across the colony. Jack and Lyra had spent the night preparing. Every sensor had been checked, every trap tested, and every route for escape carefully mapped. The alien faction that hunted Lyra would not stop, and Jack knew that their survival depended on strategy, courage, and a bit of luck. Jack stood by the viewport, scanning the horizon. Lyra moved beside him, her eyes reflecting both the stars fading in the morning sky and the rising sun. Though she was small in stature, there was an unspoken strength in the way she held herself. Her species communicated through gestures, glances, and telepathic feelings. And Jack had learned to understand her in ways words could never capture. Even now, he felt the calm determination radiating from her. "They're coming," Jack said quietly, sensing the tension in the approaching ships. Lyra placed her hand lightly on his arm, sending a steady pulse of reassurance. They had fought the first wave together, and now they would face the main force. Outside, the alien ships emerged from the canyon shadows. Sleek and dark, their hulls glinted in the light. They moved with precision, scanning for life signs, following the trail they believed Lyra had left behind. But Jack and Lyra had prepared for this. Using a combination of human engineering and Lyra's unique perception, they had set decoys and traps along the canyon paths. Jack activated the first device, a series of electromagnetic pulses hidden in the canyon walls. As the alien ships flew past, the pulses triggered, sending them spinning out of control for a few crucial moments. One ship collided with a cliffside, its systems temporarily disabled. Lyra's eyes glowed softly as she sensed the remaining scouts panic and directed Jack to adjust the next sequence. "Left. Now," she signaled telepathically. Jack moved swiftly, rerouting power and adjusting the triggers. The scouts veered into a narrow ravine where gravity mines, designed to mimic the canyon's natural magnetic fields, awaited. The ships became entangled in their own momentum, struggling against forces they had not anticipated. Jack couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. They were using human ingenuity and alien intuition to outsmart a superior force. But there was no time to celebrate. From above, larger ships hovered, monitoring the area, ready to deploy reinforcements. Jack and Lyra watched as the shadows of the vessels stretched across the canyon floor. The next phase of their plan required them to leave the colony temporarily and lure the main fleet into a trap. Jack turned to Lyra. "We have to move. If we stay, they'll overwhelm us." Lyra nodded, stepping closer. Her trust in him was absolute, and Jack felt the weight of that responsibility. They could not fail. Using the narrow canyon paths, they moved silently, avoiding patrols and sensor sweeps. Jack's human ingenuity was tested at every step, as he had to reroute power from emergency panels to create temporary electromagnetic shields, hiding their presence. Lyra guided him, sensing where the alien scouts would not see and feeling the safest paths through the rugged terrain. Together, they were a perfect team. Human courage paired with alien perception. Finally, They reached a point near a massive cliff face, where Jack had set a decoy signal. The plan was simple, but risky. Lure the alien fleet into the canyon, where the terrain and traps would give them an advantage. Lyra assisted, projecting her telepathic signature into the area to mimic her presence, confusing the alien sensors. The alien ships responded exactly as predicted. One by one, they descended into the canyon, drawn by the false signal. Jack triggered the second phase, activating a series of gravitational pulse generators hidden in the canyon walls. The ships staggered and tilted uncontrollably, their advanced technology no match for the combination of human strategy and Lyra's understanding of their systems. Jack and Lyra watched, tense but focused. The pulse generators would not destroy the ships, but they would delay them long enough to protect the colony. As the ships struggled, Lyra sent Jack a mental image of the fleet commander, a large, imposing figure, calculating and cautious. They would need to outsmart this leader if they wanted to truly end the threat. Jack nodded. "We finish this together," he said, not needing words. Lyra pressed her hand to his arm, sending a pulse of confidence. The fleet commander realized the ruse too late. His ships were trapped in the canyon, unable to maneuver freely. Jack activated the final part of his plan. A series of energy beams from the colony's main grid redirected and amplified, creating controlled magnetic currents that pushed the alien ships into one another, forcing them into a compact formation. The canyon acted as a natural choke point, and the alien forces were now vulnerable. Lyra extended her senses, guiding Jack to the exact spots where the pulses would have the maximum effect. Jack followed her directions with precision, adjusting angles, timing, and power outputs. The fleet's advanced technology was impressive, but it was no match for coordination, creativity, and the bond between a human and an alien who trusted each other completely. Hours passed in this tense battle of wit and skill. Sweat dripped down Jack's face as he recalibrated the energy pulses, dodging minor debris and maintaining the shield around the colony. Lyra's soft guidance kept him grounded, her presence reminding him that they were not alone in this fight. Finally, one by one, the alien ships began to retreat. The commander, realizing that his fleet was trapped and that further engagement would result in total loss, ordered a withdrawal. Jack and Lyra watched as the ships vanished into the sky, leaving only silence in their wake. Jack slumped against the cliff wall, exhausted but relieved. Lyra stepped closer, laying her hand lightly on his chest. Jack felt a warmth spread through him, not from the physical touch alone, but from the sense of trust, gratitude, and connection that passed between them. "You saved them," she projected into his mind, referring to the colony, not herself. Jack shook his head, smiling tiredly. "We saved each other," he said. Lyra's eyes glimmered with acknowledgement, and she leaned gently against him, not out of fear, but as a gesture of shared triumph. As the dust settled, Jack and Lyra returned to the colony. The other humans were wary at first, uncertain of Lyra's presence, but seeing the evidence of her aid and her unique abilities, they began to accept her. Jack explained her story, the reason she had sought humans, the threat from her own people, and how together they had defended the colony. In the days that followed, Jack and Lyra worked to repair and reinforce the colony's systems. She taught him small things about her technology, and he showed her the ways of human engineering. Their collaboration strengthened, not just professionally, but personally. Jack realized that humanity's strength lay not just in its machines or knowledge, but in its courage, empathy, and ability to inspire trust, even in the most alien beings. One evening, as the twin moons of Valora 7 rose, casting soft light across the colony, Jack and Lyra stood at the edge of the cliff. They looked out at the vast landscape, the alien forests and distant mountains. Lyra placed her hand on his shoulder, a silent thank you, and Jack returned the gesture, understanding it fully. "The universe is big," Jack said, "and dangerous, but maybe there's a place in it where humans and aliens can stand together and protect each other." Lyra's eyes reflected the moon's, and she projected a feeling of agreement, a hope for the future. Jack smiled, feeling a new sense of purpose. Humanity had survived countless challenges, but this was different. This was proof that even across the stars, humans could inspire loyalty, trust, and courage in beings far beyond their own kind. Night fell, and the colony settled into a peaceful rhythm. Jack and Lyra returned to his room, where she rested against his chest once more, not out of fear, but comfort. The events of the day had tested them, but they had emerged stronger, connected in a way that transcended words. The stars outside continued to shine, endless and bright. Jack knew that more challenges would come, other factions, other dangers, but he also knew that together they could face anything. Humanity had the heart, the courage, and the ingenuity to survive and thrive, even in the most alien and hostile corners of the universe. And as he looked at Lyra, he understood something deeper than any lesson from books or machines. Sometimes the greatest strength was not in weapons, ships, or technology, but in the bonds we create, the trust we build, and the courage we share. For the first time in months, Jack felt completely at peace. The galaxy was vast, the future uncertain, but with Lyra by his side, he was ready for whatever came next. The universe was full of wonders and dangers alike, but humanity's light, its bravery, compassion, and intelligence, would shine, guiding not only themselves but others toward hope, safety, and a brighter tomorrow. Jack and Lyra sat together in silence, listening to the soft hum of the colony's systems. Outside, the stars watched, distant yet familiar, and for the first time, Jack truly felt that humanity had a place among them.